Hey everybody, Corrections 101 here. Got a great one for you today. So recently there was a shooting here in Illinois involving a couple state troopers and a fugitive on the lam from Arizona. And one of the police officers, one of the state troopers, was shot, and the fugitive was unalived expeditiously after he opened fire on police officers. James Freeman, he's a sovereign citizen, anti-government, absolute extremist. And he made a video bashing the police officers who did everything right by the book and was sticking up for this fugitive and rooting for him. He's encouraging this type of behavior from more sovereign citizens and career criminals to do stuff like this to police officers. 100% he's encouraging it. I was going to do a video because I did see the video on it, but Merb happened to go live yesterday and covered the shooting and gave his legal analysis. For those of you who do not know Merb, he's a practicing lawyer in California. He has really great intellect. I have a ton of respect for him, and I like his style. I will make sure that I put his link to his channel and to the original video that I'm playing here. Go give him a like. Go sub to him. He has great content. Let him know that I sent you there. And let's get on with this video. I'm not going to really, I like to interject in videos, but I'm not even going to interject probably at all in this video. Because Merb, he just hits everything right square on the head. And he has that passion that I feel exactly the same way he does about James Freeman and this entire incident. So let's get to the video.
F it, we'll do it live. I am a little bit behind. So I'm still kind of getting set up. I never plan these much far out in advance. So I had about 10 minutes to find all the things that I needed to find. All right. What are we going to do today? We are going to start with a little James Freeman. And we want to do this like this. So less of me. All right. So I had a bit of free time today for once. And I saw an 8-minute James Freeman video, and who can resist with such a title as "Cops in air quotes help stranded motorists to death"? They helped him to death, folks. I mean, he was a good boy who didn't do nothing, and the cops went there and they tried to help him, but they just accidentally shot him or something. But we're gonna listen to this, and we're going to see how far we get through it before we spot the first little bit of stupidity, shall we?
There's no reason to lie to us when we're just trying to help. The only thing I was trying to do is help. You guys could have been long down the road.
Can you guys hear that? Or am I going to need to go get earbuds or something like that? Could you hear it when it was playing? Hi, Alan. I guess maybe it's going to take a minute. Audio is good, so you could hear the audio on the video. Perfect. The audio on the video, huh? All right, we're gonna go back into it.
Probably 15, 20 minutes ago down the road, if you would have just said, here's my ID, and been done.
So what we have here is two individuals who are not suspected of a crime. Police officers pulled over.
Well, see, there's the first thing. They're not suspected of a crime. Well, how do you know they're not suspected of a crime? At this point, how do you know they're not suspected of a crime? So just so that everybody is aware, we're going to go to this tab here, and this is the original video. So we know it's an Illinois trooper. There's an Illinois trooper. Where are Illinois troopers at? Well, they're in Illinois. So Illinois law would apply, and Illinois law specifically, this one right here, it's 625 ILCS, which is Illinois... and it's chapter 5/6-112. I don't know why they do that. it's a really weird naming scheme. It's Section 65 of the Illinois, and you could click on the link for Section 5, and Section 5 contains Section 5 and Section 6, whatever. All right, so license and permits to be carried and exhibited.
And if I didn't say it before, make sure you watch us all the way through, because Merb absolutely destroys James Freeman. Destroys him, and you will just love it.
On demand. Every licensee or permittee, well, you probably can't see this. Oh, no, I can't see it. Where'd it go? Here we go. Can we get it even bigger? That's what she said. That's what she said. Where'd we go? 113. All right, here we go. I hope everybody can see it. If you can't see it, well, that's a you problem and not a me problem. And there you go. As I like to tell the ladies, that's as big as it gets. Or gentlemen, equal opportunity. So, license and permits to be carried and exhibited on demand. Every licensee or permittee shall have his driver's license or permit in his possession. I'm sure they mean, masculine and feminine. His or her driver's license in his or her immediate possession at all times when operating a motor vehicle, and for the purpose of indicating compliance with this requirement, shall display such license or permit if it is in his possession upon demand made, when in uniform or displaying a badge or other sign of authority by a member of the Illinois State Police, a sheriff, or other police officer or designated agent of the Secretary of State. So these gentlemen, they appear to be in uniform and with badges, and they've been identified as Illinois troopers, and they're asking for his license, and there's the vehicle. So can they ask for his license? Well, I'm going to go with yeah. I mean, unless James Freeman pulls a spectacular argument out of his ass, I'm going to go with yeah. They can demand his driver's license pursuant to an Illinois statute. One thing to remember is operating a motor vehicle, despite what sovereign citizens say, it is something that you don't have an automatic right to do. The state can restrict the operation of a motor vehicle to people with valid licenses, and they can determine who does or does not have a valid license. And so they can condition the not right, but they can condition the operation of a motor vehicle on complying with various rules and regulations that you have to comply with in order to have that right to do it. Now, that doesn't mean that they can pull you over without some sort of reasonable articulable suspicion, but they can pull you over. I mean, if they pull you over, they could ask for your driver's license. If they've stopped you for a community caretaking function, then that's what this is, it's a community caretaking function, then yeah, they can totally demand your license because you've been driving. That's how the vehicle got there on the side of the road. So can I make the YouTube video full screen? Well, I probably can. Is that better? Does that satisfy you? All right. So let's go. Let's continue on. Let's see if Freeman has a well-reasoned and fully fleshed out argument as to why the officers can't demand this guy's license.
Over to help. Guys, today I've got one.
Well, that was just a build-in. So they pulled him over to help. Well, apparently this video starts off where he's no longer being helpful. So let's go.
And that's going to garner me some real hate, but I'm going to tell you what I think about it anyways. I'm going to point some things out, but here we go. This video has been posted on Police Activities YouTube channel. There's also a number of different news stations that have covered this. But first, I'm going to just go ahead and read the description so that you know the background of what's going on here. On Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, at approximately 3 a.m. on Interstate 64 eastbound at milepost 72, an ISP trooper stopped to assist a stranded motorist on the right shoulder. So we've got a stranded motorist and a cop here to help.
Well, so yeah, his intention, the officer's initial intention was to help, right? But then something might have happened I might be foreshadowing the conclusion a little bit, but something might have happened that made help not the priority of the officer. Something might have happened. What could possibly have happened?
Upon arrival, the trooper encountered 23-year-old Brandon Griffin of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and 31-year-old Christine Santos in the vehicle. A second ISP officer arrived for routine assistance a short time later. When on the scene, an altercation occurred, during which gunfire was exchanged between Griffin and a responding officer. So,
yeah, anytime gunfire is exchanged, there's probably some sort of a problem.
The police pulled over to help, and gunfire ends up being.
Yeah, and gunfire ends up being. That's so passive. Like, gunfire just, and gunfire happened. It just happened. Why did it happen? Well, it just happened. Not Griffin pulled a gun and tried to shoot the officers and actually did shoot an officer. No. Gunfire happened. And it's probably the police's fault because, well, that's the insinuation that I'm going with. Gunfire happened.
Being exchanged. This happens quite often. They're so helpful. A 16-year ISP officer suffered serious, although non-threatening injuries after being shot during the altercation and is being treated at the regional hospital. Griffin was pronounced deceased on scene by Jefferson County Coroner's Office personnel. The other involved trooper and female passenger were uninjured. So the police pull over to help a stranded motorist. For those of you who watch my channel, you understand that there is no such thing as a stop and ID state. I'm tired of hearing, this is not a stop and ID state. No.
Well, there are stop and ID states. There are states that have laws codified on the books that where if they stop you, and of course they have to comply with the Fourth Amendment requirements to stop you, but there are laws that say if they have stopped you, if they have reasonable suspicion supported by articulable facts that crime is afoot and that you might be the one who's doing it, then they can demand your ID. That is the definition of a stop and ID law. Now, I don't know how he's going to try to redefine it, but that's what is commonly understood as a stop and ID law. It's like when sovereign citizens are like, "Oh, sovereign citizen, that's an oxymoron." No, that's what you are. And everybody understands what it is. You just don't like it, and you're playing word games to try to make it magically go away. It's like when Freeman says, "Oh, the police kidnapped me." It's like when Chili says, "Oh, they put me in torture cuffs." No, you idiot. They put you in handcuffs. They're handcuffs. Are they uncomfortable? Sure. But are they classified as a torture device? No. Could you use them to torture? Yes. But that's like saying, this is my torture hammer. These are my torture nails. This is my torture belt. It doesn't, using words in a method that they're not intended to be used doesn't help anybody. It just muddies the water.
No state in the United States is a stop and ID state because that would be a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
You mean except as determined by the Supreme Court, where they said that the stop and ID law in Nevada was, since it was based on reasonable articulable suspicion, it was constitutionally valid. It was not a violation of the Fourth Amendment for them to demand Hibble's driver's license. It was not a violation of the Fifth Amendment for them to demand Hibble's driver's license, his ID, his name, his address, etc.
Unless you are suspected of a crime.
Unless the cop has reasonable suspicion and articulable facts that would lead a reasonable person to believe that crime is afoot. They don't have to suspect you of a crime. They have to have reasonable suspicion supported by articulable facts that crime is afoot and that you might be the one doing it. That's it.
You don't have to give ID.
Well, that's great advice from a non-attorney. You don't have to give ID. Well, how do you know, James Freeman, if they have reasonable suspicion? How do you know? Show me your magic 8-ball that tells you if the officer who has demanded your ID has or does not have reasonable suspicion. And are you willing to gamble a jail sentence on it, or a fine, or the thousands of dollars potentially in attorney's fees if you don't have a public defender? Is that a gamble that you're willing to make? And why are you making that decision for other people? Why are you giving people that advice when no one can tell if that officer has reasonable suspicion, not even the officer, until a judicial officer makes a determination of whether or not at that point the officer had reasonable suspicion? Riddle me that, Batman.
But police, oh gosh, they just love to help. There's a lot.
Oh gosh, they just love to help. You know what? Police don't like to get shot at. Police have this chronic allergy to lead, and they don't want to get shot at. And, you know, I'm not the world's biggest fan of police, but I am very sympathetic to anyone's desire to not be shot at. And I find that in dealing with police, not shooting them is, generally speaking, hashtag not all, a pretty good prevention from getting shot at by the police. This one simple trick will blow your mind to not get shot by police. Don't point a gun at them. Don't pull the trigger. Oh, fucking hell, this guy kills me.
Missing from this video too, and I've scoured.
There's a lot missing from it. Oh, like what? Context? But what more do you need besides the cop figures out that this dude has a warrant, comes back to make the arrest, dude freaks out, pulls a gun, and shoots one of the cops. What other context do you need? What are we missing there? Oh, well, only if we knew why he shot at the cops. Well, yeah, it's because they were trying to arrest him.
The internet. Sorry, and I've scoured the internet trying to find this entire body cam footage. Of course, I could request it myself, but I'm way too lazy to do that.
He's not way too lazy to do it. He knows it's not going to back his bullshit narrative. He knows it's not going to back his narrative. That's why he's not requesting it. We know what happened. We know what happened. Here's the local news. This is New Mexico. You know, you might have noticed that where was it? Brandon Griffin of Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? Brandon Griffin, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Should have taken a left at Albuquerque. Well, Brandon Griffin, an Albuquerque man, wanted for a shooting in southern New Mexico, got into a shootout with police in Illinois and was killed. The chaos unfolded Tuesday on the side of the freeway near Mount Vernon, Illinois. It started a few minutes earlier when a pair of Illinois state troopers stopped alongside Interstate 64 to help a couple in a broken-down SUV. Red flags were raised when the man and woman in the car gave false identities. Yeah, that does tend to raise flags. Finally, the trooper got the man's real name, Brandon Griffin, and learned that he had a warrant out of Lincoln County, New Mexico. Griffin was accused of trespassing on private property and firing shots at the property owner. He then failed to show up to court. He was with his wife, Christine Santos, at the time, the same woman with him in Illinois. Is that enough context for you there, James Freeman? Can you kind of put the pieces together as to what was happening? There was a fucking felon on the loose who was trespassing, and you know what? You should be big about respecting people's property rights, Mr. Libertarian, James Freeman. And he was shooting at the property owner. Again, you should be against that, right? What should we do to stop people from trespassing on other people's property and from firing shots at the property owner in an attempt, presumably, to kill him, since he wasn't firing spitwads? Explain it to me. It's a fucking felon with the firearm, a fugitive from justice felon with the firearm. What magic cantrip do you need to understand that these cops were dealing with a dangerous man?
So I'll show you what we've got here. It starts out with the officers talking to him, saying that they're just trying to help him.
There's no reason to lie to us when we're just trying to help.
They're not saying we're just trying to help you. They're saying there's no reason to lie to us. That was a false identity, James, with your little smug look. That was a false identity. They gave him a false identity, which may or may not be a crime in the state of Illinois. But they certainly haven't given up their IDs, and they are required under Illinois state law to offer up their IDs on demand.
The only thing I was trying.
Oh, and for the record, for those of you who believe that because they didn't have reasonable suspicion of a crime, we're going to start here. This is an Illinois decision from the State Court of Appeals of Illinois versus Maines. This is from 2012. Community caretaking is an exception to the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirement and is used to uphold searches or seizures as reasonable under the Fourth Amendment when police are performing some function other than investigating the violation of a criminal statute. The community caretaking exception applies where, number one, the officer is performing a function other than the investigation of a crime, and two, the search or seizure was reasonable because it was undertaken to protect the safety of the general public. Both criteria are determined objectively. Moreover, the police must balance a citizen's interest in going about his or her business free from police interference against the public interest in having police officers perform services in addition to strictly law enforcement. Broken down SUV on the side of the road. Huh? Is that community caretaking function? Let's figure it out. Viewed objectively, the evidence presented in this case, i.e. People versus Maines, demonstrates that the defendant was driving a malfunctioning vehicle down a multi-lane road with a moderate traffic. His emergency flashers were on. He was traveling at a very slow rate of speed, nearly 10 to 15 miles an hour per hour under the posted speed limit. He then pulled into a private driveway and began examining the vehicle's engine. So he was pulled over on the side of the road in a private driveway. This guy, Albuquerque guy, Brandon Griffith, he wasn't even in a private driveway. This guy's out of his vehicle, looking under the engine's hood. Not driving, on a private driveway, examining the vehicle's engine. From these facts, it is objectively reasonable that Kaplan, the cop, would stop to check on defendant to see if he required assistance. The malfunctioning vehicle, the defendant's slow rate of speed on a well-traveled road, presented a danger to other motorists. And having a vehicle parked along the side of a highway is also a hazard. That's why they don't let you park there. That's why they'll tow you if you park along the side of a highway like that. Although defendant had removed the vehicle from the public roadway by the time Kaplan pulled up behind him, Kaplan could not have known whether the driveway belonged to defendant, and the vehicle's return to the public roadway would have renewed the danger to other motorists. And then see this other case where the officer stop of the defendant was justified under the community caretaking exception because the defendant's actions of pulling his vehicle to the side of the road and switching positions with the passenger gave the officer reason to believe the defendant might need assistance due to a mechanical problem or other emergency. The fact that Kaplan, the cop, asked for defendant's identifying information does not necessitate a conclusion that Kaplan was conducting a criminal investigation, as an officer may request identification from an individual even during a consensual encounter. Knock it off. Knock it off. Sorry. See also this case where the officer was engaged in community caretaking when, after rousing the unconscious defendant, he asked him to step out of his vehicle and prove identification. Further, Kaplan's asking for defendant's identifying information had the safety benefit of allowing Kaplan to know who he was dealing with should defendant attempt to harm one of the officers or flee. See this case concluding that the officer's transmission of the defendant's vehicle information to the police dispatcher served the safety purposes of allowing the dispatcher to track the officer's location activities should the officer or vehicle occupant go missing. Because we conclude that Kaplan, in this cases, the cops stop a defendant was justified under the community caretaking exception, we need not address the state's contention that the stop was alternatively justified under an investigatory stop under Terry. So I hope that makes it clear that the officers had a justifiable reason for the stop, even though when they made the stop, even though when they pulled over to help, they did not suspect crime was afoot. There was no reasonable suspicion supported by articulable facts that crime was afoot. And yet they get to demand his ID. Imagine that, James Freeman, you internet scholar of the law. I think he's going to sign up for Chile's Constitution Law Scholar class.
Trying to do is help. You guys could have been long down the road, probably 15, 20 minutes ago down the road, if you would have just said.
So this stop has been going on for 15 to 20 minutes of these cops trying to figure out who these two young, well, I guess she's 30. So who the young man and the 30-year-old woman are. 15 to 20 minutes. They've been fucking around with this. When all these people had to do was provide ID. Now, why wouldn't they provide ID? Well, maybe it's because they're fugitives from justice.
Here's my ID, and been done.
So what we have here is two individuals who are not suspected of a crime.
Whoa, that's great analysis. Great analysis. What about the community caretaking function there, Freeman? Huh? What about it? Oh, you don't even fucking know about it, do you? Huh? You dummy.
Police officers pulled over to help. I don't know.
Help? Yeah, there was a broken down vehicle on the side of the road. They probably were going to see if they could call a tow truck or something. Help. Make sure that no one was injured. Help. Except it happened to be occupied by fugitives from justice.
What it was. I don't know if it's a flat tire or what's going on, but either way. And this ridiculous police officer is saying, if you had just given me you...
He's ridiculous. How dare a police officer suggest that people should comply with the written statutes of the state that they're in? How dare he? How unreasonable of him. You are unreasonable, sir, for being a police officer and trying to enforce the laws of the state you're in. How dare you?
Given me your ID, you'd be on down the road. Why do you have to give your ID to be helped by a police officer?
You don't have to give your ID to be helped by a police officer, but the police officer has the right, if you've been stopped under a community caretaking function, to demand your ID. Or if he's pulled you over for some sort of a traffic infraction, he also has the right to demand your ID. And you have an obligation under Illinois statutes to give him your ID. That's why.
Why can't you just say, no, officer, no, thank you. I don't want your help. Move along, please.
Why can't you? Because there's a fucking statute that says you have to. Like, these are my feelings. I'm James Freeman, and I have feelings, and I'm going to tell you about my feelings. And I have no idea why, but I really feel like you should be able to tell officers to fuck off. Because those are my feelings.
Right?
You don't have to give ID unless you're suspected of a crime.
Except we just figured out that that's wrong. Categorically, 100% wrong. Idiot.
It would have solved so much. But you guys have...
No, he's going back and forth.
It adds.
I love how James Freeman put his little watermark over the police activities watermark.
Yeah, moving forward.
It's not all cops are bad, right? I've been very...
Not all cops are bad, but these two cops are trying to demand ID out of two people that have not committed a crime. Which...
Not committed a crime, except being fugitives from justice from New Mexico, where they skipped out on bond, right? It was skipped out on bond. He failed to show up to court. Yeah, he jumped his little bail bond, and he's accused of apparently trespassing and maybe attempted murder or something like that, shooting at somebody. So yeah, I mean, not committed a crime. They're not committed a crime, folks. Oh, and they're failing to supply their ID to the police, which is a violation of Illinois state law. So yeah, not committed a crime according to James. Thank you, Maestro.
Which by default makes these two bad cops.
Wow. James Freeman has proclaimed it, folks. These two cops are bad cops because James Freeman has zero fucking understanding of the law. He can determine who's a good cop and who's a bad cop.
Oh, it's okay.
No, you've been nothing like...
Now, I'm not saying that these two individuals in the car are good people. All right. I'm not saying that because there is a background to this and we'll get into that. So I'm not saying these two individuals are good people, but I am saying that absolutely when you demand and bully ID out of someone that you don't suspect of a crime, you're a bad cop.
Well, gee, someone should tell the Illinois state legislature that so the Illinois state legislature can remove the offending statute that allows the cops to do this. Wouldn't that solve the problem, James? But no, we're just going to call them bad cops because James Freeman doesn't know the law, so therefore any cop who does something that he doesn't understand is a bad cop.
I had a herniated disc. I mean, I kind of just...
Let me go check you real quick, Brandon.
So Brandon finally gives up his ID. Had
Brandon finally gave up his name, not his ID.
Brandon known his rights, he'd be alive today.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. You know, it's fucking weird to me. It just blows my mind how people who are this ignorant of the law feel like they can give legal advice. And he's sitting there sure of it. Like James Freeman fucking knows when he's sitting there right there, he fucking knows that if this Brandon dude knew his rights, he'd be alive today. Well, you know, first of all, no. But second, if Brandon knew how to not fucking trespass and how to not fucking shoot at people, Brandon would be alive today. If Brandon knew how to not resist arrest and pull a gun on a cop and shoot at a cop, Brandon would be alive today. You know, there's a lot of things that actually would work to save Brandon. But blaming these cops for this, again, I'm not the world's biggest fan of cops. I'm not a huge fan of this whole officer safety thing that the cops like to rely on so much. But these guys, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, James. You're not convincing me.
Again, I believe that Brandon is at least suspected of doing something probably pretty bad in Albuquerque. But
something probably pretty bad. He fucking shot at somebody, dude. And he jumped his bond. Like something pretty bad, probably pretty bad. I'm gonna hem and haw to make it seem like these cops weren't justified. He fucking shot at somebody. Why are you minimizing it? Fucking Christ.
Either way, had he...
By the way, I had a large Dr. Pepper. Now, normally I have diet. Actually, normally I have iced tea, but they didn't have iced tea. And so I'm like, okay, diet Dr. Pepper. Anyway, they gave me a regular leaded Dr. Pepper with all the sugar. And so what you're seeing is a guy who doesn't normally have much in the way of sugar. I was thirsty and I pounded that son of a bitch, and I am chock full of whatever corn syrups they had in there, and I'm zinging. So, you know, if I'm a little more animated than you're used to, well, blame the sugar. I'm normally naturally sweet, but all this extra sugar and I'm super sweet.
Understood and known his rights and how to assert his rights and how to explain to the officer, unless you suspect me of a crime.
I'm going to explain it to the officer. Why do sovereign citizens think they can explain the law to the cops? The cops don't have to listen to your explanation. The cops get their briefings from people who get briefings from lawyers. If they don't get their briefing directly from a lawyer, lawyers are going to go through all the various things and help the police agencies come up with, like, especially a large agency like the Illinois State Troopers, come up with policies that if the officers comply with the policies, then they'll be on relatively firm legal footing as far as being able to get convictions and prevent evidence from getting suppressed. James Freeman does not get his information from attorneys. James Freeman pulls his information directly from his ass. So, no, you don't explain the law to a cop on the side of the road, even if you're an attorney. It doesn't work for attorneys either. You don't explain the law to the cops. You comply and you fight it out in court where you have a judge who can say, you're right and you're wrong. Because out there's two people. There's you and the cop. The cop has the gun, the badge, the authority, and the desire to enforce his will upon you. And the belief that he's right. Every human being believes that they're right, and you're not going to convince him otherwise. It is asinine to try to explain to cops why they're wrong.
You have no legal and lawful right to ID me. And had he asserted that right, Brandon would be alive today. But eventually...
Again, bullshit.
He finally gives in. He gives the officer his ID. The officer goes and runs him. There is a warrant on Brandon. Whether he knew about it or not, I don't know. But
I think he knew about it because he failed to appear. So, yeah, he had been processed. He had a court date. He failed to appear. I'm pretty darn sure he knew about it there, Freeman. Pretty sure it wasn't just an oopsie doodles.
But there is a warrant on Brandon.
I'm pretty sure the reason why I gave a false ID in the first place, a false name in the first place, is because he knew there was a warrant or suspected there would probably be a warrant.
All right.
Look at this mean, terrible cop coming back. Boy, the cop, look, he has his gun out and everything. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. He's playing with, he's fiddling with his radio.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. I'm going to have you turn around for a minute. All right. Turn. No.
Oh, why are we blurring this out, Freeman? Why are we blurring this out? Oh, that's kind of weird. Why are we blurring this out? Because,
Please. Out of the car. Charges to you.
Hey, Brendan.
We're done. No,
Hey, I'm not
Brandon.
going in cuffs.
Brandon, we're not doing this. Listen to me.
Hey,
Brandon,
I'm not.
we're done.
I'm not going in cuffs.
Hey, Brendan.
We're done.
Stop.
No.
Brandon,
No.
Stop.
Brandon.
So you can get a good idea of what's going on. I'm going to go back to Freeman's video, but you can get a good idea, damn mosquitoes, of what's going on based on the actual police activity video. Who don't blur it out, weirdly enough.
I'm not going in cuffs.
So because Brandon gave ID
Oh, what's going on? Like we did a jump cut. Now what's going on here, buddy?
when he didn't have to, they run him. They find out he's got a warrant. They try to arrest him. Brandon struggles. He's pretty damn tough. He fights off these two cops, jumps in the car, grabs a gun, shoots one of the cops, and then the cops shoot and kill him. I'm not going to show the entire violent altercation. I do have a link.
So like what? It's totally cool that that Brandon shot at the cops or what? Like, is that cool? Is that acceptable? Like, what are the cops supposed to do? Cops, quote, help stranded motorist death. No, cops attempt to help a stranded motorist. Turns out stranded motorist is...
Yeah, he's got a really good point there. You could see how excited James Freeman was there. You know, yeah, he did a really good job, you know, fighting off these cops and grabbed a gun and shot at him. You know, you can see how physically excited he was with his facial expressions. And YouTube, can we start somewhere? Okay? You have all these radical anti-government extremists like James Freeman, other sovereign citizens, frauditors out there. Can we just start? I would love to have their channels removed. They shouldn't have a platform to spew this anti-government bullshit that gets people killed. But can we start at least with having them demonetized? They should not be able to make money off the spreading extremist ideologies like this. Can we start there, YouTube? Can we at least start there? Let's demonetize them. They should not be frauditors, 1A auditors, freaking sovcits. They should not be able to make money on YouTube by propagating fringe anti-government ideologies and recruiting others, using YouTube to recruit others.
Is a felon on the run who attempts to shoot and does shoot one of the cops. Resists arrest. Like misleading much? Like burying the lead ever so gently?
In the description so you can go and watch the whole thing yourself. It'll be interesting to find out exactly what this warrant, what happened in the situation that this warrant was for. Police.
Well, that was tough. That was tough for me to figure out. I mean, boy, you know, it's not like here's a fucking news channel who posted this on May 12th. Posted on May 12th, and today's the 16th. Freeman put up this video. Where are we at? Show more. May 16th. So they put it up today. So this website, the news website's been up for 4 days. 4 days. Boy, I mean, it's just so great if we could just figure out what he possibly could have had a warrant out for. I mean, my mind is blown. I'm mystified. I don't understand. Fucking stupid.
Often force their help on us, right?
They weren't forcing their help. If he said, I don't want your help, well, they could have just demanded his ID and then wrapped up their community caretaking function and gone on their way. They weren't trying to force their help on him. They had reason to believe he might need help. They stopped to help. Before helping, they demanded his ID as they were entitled to, and he did not provide it as he was required to under Illinois state law.
Hang in there, guys. He had a technical difficulty last night on this.
Well, how do? My internet is shit. So that's really all I had to say from the Freeman. It was just really fucking stupid. I apologize. It is it's just frustrating that that people who are so ignorant of the law are so cocksure about the law, and they attract so many other people who hear these internet gurus saying what they want to hear, and so they believe them, and reality is going to bite them in the ass. But anyway, we are going to proceed from that to a filing from DeCastro versus Wagner. Let's see if I can't make this big. That's again what she said, because that joke.
Okay, guys. Yeah, we're not going to watch the chili part of that, but yeah, that's the legal breakdown on James Freeman's video of the police involved shooting in Illinois. And James Freeman got absolutely wrecked. And so, like I said, I put the link to Merb's channel in the description. Make sure you go over there. Make sure you subscribe to him. He's a great attorney. Puts out great content. Please give him a shout out over there. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.